Taken pole, brilliant circumstances, and he's well, he's not even broken sweat by the sounds of things.
I thought he'd be a bit more pumped about that, especially after yesterday or earlier in the weekend. I mean, I think for him, a lap like that at a track like this, it gets the adrenaline going. So I'm surprised he's not quite as pumped about it. But honestly, incredible lap. I think we kept going on about how close it was going to be, how difficult it would be to put that kind of advantage over both your teammate but any other driver. So the fact he went out, that first lap was electric. A little bit in the wall at the exit of the second to last corner, but then the next lap to better it, which no one else really seemed to do other than Max, is super impressive.
Fully committed.
He was, but also I think because he had the confidence after his first run, you can see he looks relaxed. He looks relaxed behind the wheel. There's no sudden movements on the steering. Everything's very gradual, precision. Really, really impressive lap.
I think the thing with George is all year, every single time, when the pressure comes on, he responds. That's the key thing here.
It's dealing with the pressure, it's maximising the car when it's available to him. It's basically a lot of what we talk about, the qualities of Max. We give, obviously, Max the right credit he deserves. He gets the maximum out of the car, but George is doing the same. And I think he does not always get the credit he deserves for that, because moments like this, that lap is as impressive as I've seen all year, to be honest, from him.
Go back to relishing the fact that he is the team leader. Do you think that that's the case? We talked about this. How's he going to respond? He has responded in spades, hasn't he?
He has, and you know, before qualifying, Kimi looked super quick. They were both very, very close, even through the first part of qualifying. But when it really mattered, he was calm, collected, got it done. And Kimi probably overdrove a little bit, and that's where the lap time has been lost. You know, a little bit too aggressive, and it's hurting his exits a little bit. So, yeah, that's the difference, just experience. Feeling comfortable in himself to go and get the job done.
Quite like that. I think there was some very senior personnel from their biggest sponsor who's over here, based over in Malaysia. That's doubly nice for them to do it over here in Singapore.
Absolutely. I mean, it's always performing these moments now. They're under a lot of pressure every weekend. You know, we speak about contracts and what have you, but to deliver, I think, for both Antonelli as well, he missed out a little bit at the end, but a really solid performance at a track he hadn't been to, and a track it's easy to get it wrong at. So I think he did a phenomenal job as well. OK, here's George in the press conference.
Been a challenging weekend, to be fair. I've not been comfortable with the car, not been comfortable with myself, and yeah, it just sort of all came towards me in Q3, to be honest. Even the end of Q2, that was my first good lap of the weekend, and probably the first lap where I felt semi-reasonable, but I knew I had a bit of margin to go further, and then my lap one in Q3 was really strong, and then obviously matched it on the second lap, so pretty pleased with that.
Actually, we're going to get into this tomorrow in depth with Anthony, because that's the key. The thing with George is he doesn't leave any stone unturned. You know that he's been fully prepared coming into every single race. And I just wonder for this one whether that matters even more, if you like, because physically you've got to be prepared, mentally you've got to be prepared. And he's always making a point now of building into his weekends to ensure that he absolutely nuts it in Q3.
Yeah, definitely, and it's a street circuit as well, so you need to build up to it a little bit. And I think that probably he took a little knock in FP1 with the incident he had, and I think it probably surprised him because he just didn't expect it. So it took a little knock, but it's amazing how he's turned the tables, and to get that in Q3 and just the way he went about it was very impressive.
Jamie, you know him well. I mean, tell us about that. As he was saying, he doesn't leave anything on the table, does he?
He doesn't, and as a friend it can be almost a bit too intense sometimes, because honestly his life is this, and his life is performance, and everything he does in his life revolves around that, and it's incredibly impressive to see close up. So when it does get rewarded like these moments, it is genuinely deserved, and I think, yeah, he's just constantly trying to push himself to find performance, which I think makes the future very exciting for him. OK, so that's this weekend. As far as the championship is concerned, another big session there where Max Verstappen, but for Lando Norris getting his way, could have been up there, could have been on pole position. Nevertheless, he's going to be a factor here, and he's ahead of both McLarens. Let's hear from Laurent Mekies talking to Ted.
Laurent, tough luck. It was looking really good. I think 0.182 off. How much was that? We heard Max, I'm sure you heard him in the... how much was that with the McLaren of Lando in front, a loss?
I think at first it's a very strong qualifying from Max and from the team again. It's good to see some long faces when you do a front row, and of course we feel we will have been quite a lot closer to George without that last corner. traffic, but it's life. So I'm not going to tell you that we would have been in front, but for sure Max would have been there or thereabout.
But bigger picture, as you say, how pleasing is it that you've shown that on one of the highest downforce, if not one of probably the highest downforce on the calendar, the car is there, just like it was on the lower of Baku and Monza.
Look, it's true. The first thoughts are for everyone in Milton Keynes. Everyone has been working so hard to get that car back to life, and that's exactly what they have done. So, okay, we are not on pole today, but as you said, we're able to fight. We're able to fight yesterday. We could feel we were on the right rhythms with the McLaren, with the Mercedes, and fine, there was, I think, five cars in 1/10 at the end of FP3. And, fair enough, we are not on pole today, but we are in that group also on these sort of tracks. Only 2-3 races ago, in Zandvoort, we were not able to be within close range of pole, and it's again a testimony of all the hard work.
Great stuff. Thanks very much. See you tomorrow. Thank you.
Well, let's see what happens in the race tomorrow. But he's got a car underneath him again. What does this mean? If he can translate it into victory or stay ahead of the McLarens tomorrow? Yes, it's big. It's big weekend.
This is exactly what he needs. This is what Max needs. He needs other cars to be in the mix, and you have 2 Mercedes here. So if Max is able to trump the Mercedes tomorrow, there's a good chance you get good points all over the McLarens, and that's the only way he's really going to fight for this championship.
Absolutely, that's the thing. It's what we were talking about. If McLaren have an off weekend, they're not just being P2, P3 to Max. They're right down the order, and it's so close now. They can't afford any mistakes. So I think tomorrow will be interesting. Max does need a big point swing still. He needs to go out and win tomorrow, and I think that's what's also quite fun to know is Max is going to be going for it tomorrow.
Yuki down in 15th again, so he's got one car up there, which is not going to be to his advantage. We were talking at the Skypad whilst watching that session with Anthony. He said he fully believes that this is a driver's track. It's sometimes more important than the car around here. Is that something you'd go along with? And is that why we've seen the likes of Russell and Verstappen on the front row, they're good as much?
Yes, but you still need a good car.
Of course you do, yeah.
Yeah,
but
it doesn't change. It's still a Formula One car that it predominantly is a downforce car as well. So you watch the cars around here, they're not using curbs either because they don't really have any suspension. So downforce is king around a track like this. But I would say it's probably a little bit more down to the driver than other tracks, just because you have to take more risk. And that's what it's all about. And Max is good at taking risk.
Difficult to get the perfect lap is what I suppose I'm saying with this.
It is. And it's bumpy in places. Yeah. It's a little bit uncomfortable in some places. A Formula One car is so big and it sort of falls over itself in certain corners. It's about staying calm in that situation as well.
OK, let's get some views from the McLaren camp, starting with Lando Norris, who will begin from 5th tomorrow.
How are you feeling? Because I know you've been poorly this weekend. It's not a good place to be feeling poorly.
No, if there's anywhere you don't want to be poorly, it's here. So I'm better today. Yesterday and day before, struggling a little bit. It hit me pretty quickly, but it also went away relatively quickly. So I'm probably not optimal, but no excuses for today.
Certainly the one where you can sweat it out anyway, isn't it?
Sure.
This one.
Sure.
Talk to me then about that qualifying, because I think to people watching, they're expecting McLaren to be back on top a bit more here. So where's that pace missing at the moment?
Different. I think others are just also improving. The Mercedes are doing a very good job. Red Bull, like we've seen, have been very good last weekend. So nothing's a surprise. I think the only thing is Singapore has always been a little bit of a weird one, and we know we struggle whenever we struggle with the front tires. We struggle a lot as a team. The whole weekend we've been struggling with the front tires, and in the contrary to that, we know that anytime everyone in the grid, like everyone in F1, struggles with the front tires, like they are this weekend with the new tarmac bits, Mercedes is normally always the team that comes out on top, like Vegas last year, for instance, and things like that. So I think we understand when you put 2 and 2 together why we've struggled a little bit, just the front of the car not being strong enough and too much understeer and things like that. Then you have to make compromises, you almost give up rear grip for that, and you just kind of get into a bad area. So we understand it. Making improvements on all these things is the bigger, not worry, but the bigger thing we have to work on. And today makes you feel like no matter, even if we're fighting, we're trying to win the constructors this weekend, 6 rounds early, 7 rounds early, whatever it is. It just feels disappointing that we're not quick enough. That's why it really doesn't matter when you say you dominated 1 weekend or 2 or 3. When you come here and you're just 3/10 off, you just feel too slow and you don't feel like you've done a very good job. So we clearly have work to do.
Both those teams, funnily enough, bought new front wings this weekend, so they are still developing whatever they can, what's left of 2025. Do you think you're going to have to end up trying to do a bit more of that than you expected to?
It's too late now. Yeah.
Okay, so race pace-wise, you're usually better on a Sunday. Is there potential here, but it's a one-stop, it's tricky. Is there still potential to win this tomorrow?
I think you're asking for a lot.
I always do.
I mean, you got it, and I'm sure I'll go back to my room later and we'll ask, as a team, we'll ask ourselves the same questions. But this track is all about qualifying, and there's always chances in the race, but not many. And if you're starting where we are, normally it's, can you get onto third or second or whatever. But a win, like I saw from me last year, as soon as you're out front, clean air, it's just it's easy. We're not in that position this year, so a lot of work to do tomorrow.
Thanks, Lando.
Well, Andrea, the challenge of Singapore is such that anywhere near the front of the grid is a good starting position. Obviously, you would have liked pole. Can you be satisfied with third?
Well, not satisfied. Obviously, we entered the qualifying session to achieve a pole position. But I think we see a pattern now whereby when we have lots of braking on bumps, curbs, we saw that in Canada, if you remember, we didn't have necessarily any magic in the car. We saw that in Baku, and we saw that in Singapore as well. So I think there's a pattern. We have to accept that in these track layouts, some other cars are very competitive. Fair enough. Well done to Mercedes. And still a good position for the race tomorrow.
Okay, so is that on one lap you're talking about, a single full out lap? Is it a different matter on terms of race pace? Because Oscar was clearly fastest of anybody consistently in the Friday. Well, I know we didn't have much Friday running, but
well, first of all, when we look at Friday, we need to be wary of what fuel you had on board in the long runs here because of the compromised timing in session. Not necessarily all cars were at the normal fuel that you have in practice. And then I think if we look back at Canada, Baku, again, not necessarily in the race we could capitalize on what's normally a good feature of the car. We also had very low degradation in Baku, low degradation to some extent in Canada. So we are ready for a fight, but I think this fight sees us in contention for the victory, certainly in contention for a podium finish. It's also a very important race for many reasons, and it's important that we are there.
yes, with the constructors on the line tomorrow. We'll see what happens. Thank you for explaining. Thank you.
Yeah, but he wasn't happy. He was frustrated, Max. So, what did he say? I'm going to remember that one.
But I get where he's coming from. You're trying to maximise everything and building up to it. And he was looking...
Road battle tomorrow, can you?
Yeah, I like a frustrated Max. It's always going to line up for something fiery. But, yeah, I think that's frustrating in that instance because... it's also a championship rival potentially. Whether that made a difference or not, I'm not sure. Lando was actually quite out of sync. He went very early for his final run, so he would have been on his in-lap. But I think tomorrow's looking good. It's so close. Sometimes when it is very close, it makes it almost a little bit trickier overtaking-wise. But with strategy in play, with very different teams, without necessarily having a sister car to be able to influence the strategy, I think that's going to be interesting.
Well, 3 of the top 4 have nothing to lose tomorrow. They really don't. They're going to go all out because they're going for the victory. So, it makes it very interesting.
But also, with regards to McLaren, as Max goes behind us, we don't know if this is the case, but Lando under the weather, as he quite rightly pointed out, or Rachel did, this is not somewhere you want to be under the weather. And if he does have the same as what George has, I know there's been a very nasty bug going round the paddock, then... you're going to suffer over a race like this in these conditions, aren't you? How much of that could that be a factor?
It kind of goes back to what George was actually saying about Baku. If he was feeling like he did then this weekend, he probably wouldn't have raced. So it's the worst place to feel that underwear. I don't know how bad he is. He said he's starting to get on the mend, but the race will feel very long. And last year he made a couple of mistakes, and you can't pinpoint it to a certain thing, but it is incredibly hot in the helmet. It is incredibly tough, and it's very easy to make mistakes when all the, heat, adrenaline, everything sort of comes to a head, so it's going to be tough.
He'll need the cooling vest on.
Yeah, exactly. But, it's obviously the fitness that it really hurts in a race situation, but also for that qualifying lap. He's only half a tenth off of Oscar, and if he wasn't feeling quite right, it's impressive, because if it's a head cold or something like that, you lose your balance. So around a circuit like this, where you 100% need your balance, it puts you off a little bit. So it's an impressive lap.
It's a challenge. It really is, this place, and that's why we love coming. Welcome back. Another tricky weekend. Keep saying it, don't we, for Ferrari. 6th and 7th for Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. Here they are, along with Fred Vasseur.
Hi, Lewis. I know you said yesterday how much you'd been looking forward to driving the Ferrari here and seeing what it was like, but what's the reality been like this weekend?
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. I've felt on it all weekend. I felt good in the car, and you saw Q1 run 1. I was feeling really strong, and I thought that I thought maybe silly of me, but thought that we were fighting for top positions, and then just the way the plan goes and where we end up waiting in the pit lane and losing tire temperature and losing one, kind of using a tire on the outlap but then coming in, then temperature effect, all these different things just add up to not optimizing the sessions. So we'll have to do some work to try and figure out how to optimize the sessions better.
Yeah, I remember speaking to you in Baku after qualifying, and you were on the tyre you didn't want to necessarily be on at the end, and Charles, same for him. So how do you, I guess it's just conversations with the team, is it? And you all sit down and look back at the data and try and make sure that doesn't happen again, or you're in a better position next time?
Yeah, I think we'll talk in the background. I think it's just, just have to have a conversation about it and just continue to try and improve the process. I mean, everyone's working as hard as they can. It's just, we need to also look at what the others are doing, because if you look at the Mercedes, they were out first and they didn't lose any tyre temperature, and then they're at the front. You know, as we're waiting on turning the car off at the end of the pit lane, just ends up losing 5 or 6 degrees, and it's really hard to get that back on an outlap. And when I got to Q3, I just had nothing. I lost half a second in performance from the tyres. So that's frustrating, but nonetheless, I'll try my best tomorrow.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Charles, you know how to put a pole lap in around this circuit, so tell me why it wasn't there today.
Everything, but starting with the grip. The grip have been very tough to find, and really struggling to find the grip on this track, which is a shame, because normally Baku and here are 2 of my favorite tracks of the season, 2 tracks where I'm very strong at, but I've never found the feeling. I have a lot of understeer on the car, but the car is still very snappy and unpredictable, and I know that it's not my strength whenever there's understeer in the car, and this weekend has been the case from FP2 to qualifying, and we don't really find any ways out without making the car even more unpredictable, which is not what you want on a city track. So it's been a very tough weekend.
Is that something new in the last couple of races, or have you felt that at other circuits, or is it circuit specific?
I hope it's circuit specific, but for now I don't quite have the explanation, because it's not like we changed massively the car in the last 2 races, but for some reason the feeling is not good in the last 2 races. So we'll look back and try to understand where did it start going wrong.
Thank you. Thanks, Charles.
Well, Fred, Ferrari know how to win around Singapore. Tell us about the weekend. Talk us through the weekend so far.
It was very up and down. I think we had a strong pace on the FP1, even beginning of the FP2. Q1 was okay today, but then we lost a little bit the pace of everything. It's true that it's really on the edge, I think, for us, but not only for us, with the tires and the preparation. But even the last lap of Charles, that we were in a good shape until the last sector, and we lost everything in the last sector. But okay, let's be focused now on tomorrow to see what we can do. We will have opportunities for sure. The rest will be long, and but even if it's not so easy to overtake in Singapore.
Okay. Obviously, George is on pole. They're your main Constructors' Championship rivals. Is the secret for tomorrow, see the checkered flag, rely on the drivers, no one has any long-run pace or knowledge, and just...
Yeah, we are all blind on this one, but it's the same for everybody. No, we didn't do FP2. It is like it is now. We have to be focused on tomorrow to try to get the best from this. Let's see the pace of everybody on the long stint. It will be key.
Thank you, Fred.
Come on to Ferrari. Let me just read you out the FIA Formula One technical delegates report with regards to both of the Williams cars. The uppermost rear wing element adjustable positions were checked on both of their cars, and they exceeded the maximum limit of 85 mils on both sides of the rear wing outer area. This is to do with flexi tests, deflection tests. They failed that. It's been referred to the stewards. If it's been failed and they confirm it, the stewards, that'll be, we would think, an exclusion from qualifying. So we'll react to that as and when we know it, but not good news for Williams. James Vowles just walked past us there, so I assume that meeting's happened, so maybe we'll get something before we go off air, but if not, stay across our website and Sky Sports News as well. But it's only the 5th time this year that Charles has been out-qualified by Lewis. I mean, Lewis will take something small from that, but again, you know, half a second, it's just they just can't find the answers from week to week and track to track about getting the setup and the balance right.
It's weird. It's just everything you expect or predict maybe with Ferrari kind of tends to be the opposite. And particularly here in Baku, we predicted Charles to be, you know, it's his special track, the ones he tends to do well at. And then you come here, those are the 2 tracks that Lewis seems to actually be a little bit stronger at. And yeah, I'm honestly very surprised. He's sort of comments about unpredictability. We've known with Ferrari a little bit, but it doesn't seem like they're ever fully getting it together in the last few races.
1.5 tenths off of a McLaren. You know, normally they'd say that was pretty good for us qualifying, but it's because you've got all the other cars that have sort of got into the mix around here. But for Lewis, you got to take the small victories at the moment. You know, it's been a tricky year for him so far.
And all of the senior management at Ferrari are going to get judged on the outcome of the first few races, aren't they, of 2026. For them, you know, how important is chasing down second? We asked Toto earlier, and he said everything fully focused on 2026. Surely that's all that's in their head now. It's a write-off. They're not going to win the championship.
It is, but I still am just a big believer that you need the kind of morale in the team, and they've got a world-class lineup. They've brought in a 7-time world champion that they ultimately want to see on the top step, winning races, performing with them. And you kind of have these seasons where you're just not able to get any results, and that plays a part for everyone. You know, everyone in that team will feel that. So hopefully they have a car that's capable of being up there next year. But if they don't and they're in the scrap, then it's going to be tough for them to kind of remember what it's like and remember what that feeling is like to be winning every weekend.
JB?
You can't be afraid to fail, and that's what it feels like at Ferrari. I think everyone feels it's easy to be pushed out the door, and it's not a nice feeling to have. You know, you need to have consistency throughout the team, gives everyone confidence and the drivers confidence. So I hope that's not the case next year. I hope that they, you know, see out the whole year together, because there's going to be so much change for the first race, but also the 24th race of the year. So much is going to change throughout the year. So it's a great team, and I think it has really good leadership, and you don't get a better driver lineup than that.
No. Okay, Ollie Bearman, good result for him into Q3 again. He qualified in 9th. He's talking with Anthony.
Ollie, thanks for joining us. We'll walk to your hospitality. I know it's hot work out there, but that was a great job. Well done. Q3 once again.
Yeah, really happy to be back. I feel like it's been a bit of a long time coming because it's been a few qualities where we've been really close, Monza, but also in Baku, you know, I think we deserve to be in Q3 without my mistake. So it's the combination of the hard work of the team. We've been doing a really good job in these past few races, and yeah, happy with what we achieved today.
Well, what a place to do it as well, because I think it was in free practice 3 with Crofty on the comm saying, you know, this, when it comes to qualifying, it's more about the driver than the car in many ways. So what a place to do it.
Yeah, certainly. It's a big challenge. The main thing is that it's a street track, but it's one of the only street tracks where the tires are overheating a lot through the lap, because generally in tracks like Monaco, Baku, first of all, of course, it's much cooler, but also, you know, with this road surface, normally the tires, the deck is really low. But over this lap, you really feel the tires overheating a lot, which makes it really tough to set the car up for the entire lap and drive perfectly for the entire lap too.
And it looked like a pretty perfect lap from what I could see anyway. I know it's never perfect here, but it's got it close enough.
I'm happy with that.
In terms of tomorrow, views on that? I mean, you've done the easy bit. What about the hard bit tomorrow?
Yeah, you know, it's a tough race. You know, it's pretty clear strategically. It's a one-stop, so it means we have to be on top of that and make sure we don't get caught sleeping on both sides. But I'm happy that I managed to get some long-run laps in FP3, because of course it was really interrupted in FP2. And generally, I feel like the setup direction that we took has been more biased towards the race, which means hopefully we're in a good place for tomorrow.
Great. Well, go for it. Look forward to watching it.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Thanks a lot.
Just a quick one on Ollie Behrman's year. Obviously, he's going to retain that seat for next year. I think he's had something like 5 11th place finishes in a couple, as you saw on the screen there, of 12th places. But for, give or take, it could have been 7 races where he scored. So how do you assess him at the moment?
Very, very fast. Esteban Ocon is no slouch, and qualifying has always been very strong. He's had some very competitive teammates and done a very good job against them. So really impressed with Ollie. In qualifying, I think he's probably outdriven the car. But races, you can't outdrive the car every lap of a race for 60, 70 laps. So I think the results just aren't there because of the pace of the car's not been there.
And you, Jamie?
I'd say kind of typical rookie mistakes, or not typical, I think understandable rookie mistakes maybe have sort of cast a shadow over what has been an incredible rookie season. We talk a lot about Isaac Hadjar, and he's also performing at an incredibly high level, but both of them have never been to this track and both out-qualifying their teammates, both in Q3. So, yeah, incredible job from the pair of them. I'm struggling to speak now.
You can, no problem. We've got one more part, and in that we're going to head down to Williams.
Of them, because as they said, it's going to be a mistake. It's on both cars, and yeah, nobody wants to come into a weekend knowing they could possibly be disqualified. So 12th and 13th on the grid. It wasn't their best qualifying, so if you're going to be disqualified, not that you ever want to be disqualified for anything, it's better here than another track.
Because actually, in terms of the characteristics of the Williams, this isn't the kind of track that potentially would suit them as much as some of the others.
I think yes on paper, but then based on practice performance and kind of where maybe they're expecting, I think we're all maybe thinking they were getting to Q3 there. So I think double whammy. I think they're disappointed with the qualifying performance, and then obviously if they get disqualified, that's even worse. So a not good day for James Vowles and the Williams team.
Okay, before we go, let's hear from a couple of other drivers inside the top 10. It's Isaac Hadjar will start from 8th tomorrow.
Isaac, that sounded like a really difficult session for you. I know you were on the radio saying it was a messy lap and then there were clutch issues. Just talk me through that, because P8 still looks really good to us. Was there more there?
Yeah, I mean, it's always easy to say there was a lot left on the table, but unfortunately there was. And it was an amazing lap, start of the lap, last attempt, and I lost it where I never lost it the whole weekend, so I just overdid it. And it's a shame because I really needed that. I felt like I could have done that special lap that would have put me up there. I'm looking at the lap times, I'm 3/10 away from third. And
You think that 3/10 was there in the car today? So
yes,
was
but
it a moment or?
Yeah, I'm just not proud of my qualifying because I couldn't do a single good lap. I always did like a lap with a mistake, and obviously it's a very demanding track, but I've never put it together the whole session, so I'm not happy.
What do you do about that? Because I remember talking to you in Baku, and it was that turn 16 as well, and you were frustrated then. Can you go away and work with the team and help them to just get you in a good place for quali, where maybe you take it back a fraction to get the 2/10 rather than the 3? What do you think?
Yeah, but it's not how I see things. And when you're looking for a special lap, you gotta take risks and go in the unknown, and that's what I did, and it didn't pay off.
Races tomorrow, though. Thanks, Isaac. Thank you.
Yeah, I tell you what, he holds himself to some very high standards, doesn't he, Isaac Hadjar? He's just got into Q3, not totally familiar with this track, and it's always written all over it.
Up at least before turn 8, so he could have made up more time, maybe in that very corner, but he overcooked it. It's
maybe the last sector, his previous lap, he didn't think was that good. Maybe that's why he's thinking, as long as I get there with the same delta, I can go quicker. But overdriving.
I just can't believe how angry he gets at himself. It's but not in a bad way. I just think it's so, because I think we've seen this evolution, and if you watched him in F2, that anger would come out in perhaps a team radio message, and the maturity wasn't quite as much there. But in that instance, he's still top 8. Everyone's making mistakes, and he just holds himself to a very high standard, as he said. So very impressive young driver.
Let's finally hear from Kimi Antonelli. He'll start from 4th.
Hi, Kimi. You came across a Williams in Q1, you had a lap deleted in Q2, and then you put that in Q3. That was quite the session for you today.
Yeah, let's say I like to make my life harder overall. I I felt I had a real shot to at least front row, and just a shame because the car was there and we had the pace, and I felt very strong. And but in Q3, let's say I let my emotion, let's say my emotion took over, because I was really excited and I really felt it was possible. But then I didn't drive very well. I did way too many mistakes, and then I just started to drive tense because I wasn't doing clean laps. Lap 1 wasn't clean, and lap 2 was even worse. So just driving tense again, but this was a very good learning for the future.
But you've had P4 now in 2 races in a row, difficult street track races where you really have to be committed and do well in the car. Does that not give you some confidence going forward?
No, for sure. I think it's we've been having a positive trend so far, and Monza we had a good quali, and then Baku again a strong quali, and then here again, up until Q2 was really good, looking very good. So I think now we've been having a positive trend. Also myself, I'm a bit more relaxed in the car, and I'm also focusing much more on the process, on what I have to do. Today's Q3 was another big learning for the future, and because sometimes just doing a little bit less brings you more. And I think today I just in Q3 I went beyond the car potential and the grip potential. Was just asking too much, and just ended up doing too many mistakes.
Well, thank you. Go well tomorrow. Thanks.
Yeah, as you said, they're all at it, Anthony, mistake-wise. It's very easy to do here, as we've been reflecting on a lot.
I think he got rattled a bit by what happened earlier on with the track limits, where he feels like he overdrove the car. We can see it, I guess, as drivers, and we know what it's like to be in that situation where you push for too much and you feel a bit rattled and you get tense inside the car. You make digital movements on the wheel and the pedals, and it just doesn't flow anymore. So the good thing is, though, he's aware of that and very self-analytical. He knows where he can improve going forward.
Yeah, when you watch his lap compared to George's lap, which just looks super smooth. But also, another driver, I think, being a little bit maybe too hard on themselves. George's lap is one of the best laps we've seen this year. And he ended up 3/10 behind him with a lap that wasn't quite as good as he had hoped. So still not bad. He's starting P4, the first time he's ever been to this street circuit. It's not easy.
I agree, still not bad, but I think he'll be frustrated deep down because he had glimpses there. I think we spoke to Toto a bit about it before, but we wanted to find these flashes of speed, and he had that throughout that session. There were purple sectors flying around next to his name throughout the whole session until Q3, more or less. So I think he'll feel like there was a bit of a missed opportunity there where he could have really shown what he was capable of. 4th isn't bad, but I think he's just always that bit of a distance away from George at the moment.
I thought we were finishing with Kimi Antonelli. We're not. Bonus. Here's the top 3, just fresh in from the pen for your viewing pleasure.
The first measure obviously is against your teammate. You're ahead of him, but you've now got Max and George to contend with as well in trying to go for pole positions. So what was that session like, and was there any more left in the car today? Was it just not in the car?
I think there was a little bit left, but not enough to get pole. I think we seemed to be good through practice. We seemed pretty good in Q1, and then we found a little bit of time and others found a lot of time. So a little bit kind of surprising that we couldn't find more than that. But ultimately, I don't think the car had enough in it for pole. So I'm pretty happy with the job I've done. Was it perfect? No, but I felt like it's just been a good weekend and being close to the limit of what the car's been able to do.
A lot of us had you down to get pole here today, considering how you've been performing so far, or in the last few races and this weekend as well. Was it the difference getting stuck behind Lando, or would it have been really close, do you think, in the end?
Well, first of all, I want to say that, of course, George did a very good lap. When I heard the lap time starting my lap, I knew that was a very good lap. Besides that, I think we had good pace. I was up on my final lap.
But yeah, of course, what happens then in the final sector is a bit unfortunate. But I also don't want to make it bigger than it is. There's no need to go into detail here.
Pole and first in here. Fantastic lap today. You must be happy?
Yeah, no, I'm happy. I'm
Buzzing?
happy. It's no, it's been a very strange weekend. I've been struggling, haven't been confident with myself, the car, and I knew there's a lot of pace in the car. You know, Kimi's been doing such an amazing job this weekend, but you know, by the end of qualifying, when you get those, you know, couple of sets of tyres underneath your belt and you can build that confidence, I felt good come Q3, and 2 laps for pole was nice.
You seem quite subdued about it. I know it's not a win, it's pole, but it's the first pole Mercedes have had around here since 2018.
No, I mean, this place has been hasn't been my friend in the years gone by, and of course, being on pole position is an amazing result. But this has been a track that has bitten me on numerous occasions in the past. So I'm not getting carried away with myself, to be honest. I'm really pleased, of course, of the car's performance. I think we're all quite surprised at McLaren's lack of performance, because if I were to bet, I wouldn't have bet that we would have been more competitive than this weekend. But, of course, the race is tomorrow. It's going to be tough, but I'm feeling good.
How much of that, he's obviously going to use it all tomorrow, but you've got Max alongside him, that's just box office, isn't it?
I think that's why he's not quite as bubbly as maybe you would imagine after getting such a brilliant pole position. 2 laps, good enough for pole, because I think he knows what a tough job is coming his way tomorrow, with Max starting alongside him, Oscar behind him directly on the grid. It's going to be I can't wait for tomorrow's race, because and George knows very well the competition around him, and doing it over 1 lap is one thing, and the car obviously performed well over 1 lap, but you've got to stay out in front in very tough
and there was
conditions.
a discrepancy last year, wasn't there, between qualifying the race for Mercedes? I think that's in the back of the mind.
Yeah, but he's made his job as easy as he possibly can tomorrow. So he should be, I mean, I would be definitely a lot happier if I could put it on pole position around here. But I also think that, you know, with Verstappen in second, yes, you know, think about turn 1 a little bit, but it's so dirty offline. For me, it's more going to be, what's going to be really interesting is Oscar and Max into turn 1, because Oscar probably will get a bit of a run side by side. Woo.
Right, well, 10 of the last 15, let's go back to that, have 10 of the last 15 iterations of this Grand Prix have been won by the pole sitter, so, you know, he can absolutely carry that into tomorrow.
It's good odds. It's hard to pass here. We've seen that many times. I think the actual racing, once you get going, is going to be challenging. However, strategy will be a big thing, and we've seen a lot of safety cars here, a lot of interruptions, very easy for drivers to get it wrong. Lando Norris hitting the wall last year from the lead. George Russell ended his race in the wall here as well. So I think driver fatigue will play a factor, safety cars will play a factor. It's going to be, yeah, a great race, I'm sure.
Make sure you tune in. We're on air at 11:30, lights out at 1 o'clock tomorrow for the